Welcome to RHI Sociable City Interviews, where we meet with global thought leaders on nightlife and the social economy. Today we are joined by Lauren Morales, Chief Operating Officer of Tomcat's Hospitality, featured in Restaurant Business Magazine's Top 100 Independent Restaurants 5 years in a row. Raised in Nashville, Lauren spent her summers working with her family at legacy concert series such as Dancin' in the District and Nashville River Stages, and backstage at Starwood Amphitheater. She later led Tomcat's production catering, providing catering for A-list celebrities and productions including 30 Rock, Garth Brooks, The Walking Dead, and Bonaro Music Festival. Hey, it's great to be with you today. I'm really appreciating your time for such a busy person to take this opportunity to share some of your experience.
No, it's great to be with you, Jim. I'm excited to chat.
Okay. Well, why don't you just give a brief snapshot of the evolution of your career and what you're doing these days?
Yeah, so I'm a native Nashvilleian and born into a family business. My parents started Tomcat's Catering in 1986 here, backstage catering at Starwood Amphitheater. It was really one of the first rollouts of the amphitheater infrastructure in the US. Starwood was one of the first. And my dad flew to Arizona and unbeknownst to my mom bought a little used catering truck, didn't really know what he was doing, and drove it back to Nashville and started a movie catering business that he parlayed off of his backstage catering work at Starwood. And my favorite story is that when he hand painted the truck with a graphic designer here, he marked it truck number 3, so it appeared that he had a fleet. And that's a really inspiring story. And I was lucky enough to be around for all of that because the childcare was me in the back of the truck drying off all the trays after our catering lunches. So truly a family business. Tomcats is my mom and dad, Tom and Kathy. And me, my sister, and now my little brothers were raised in it, and we were raised in hospitality. And my dad, what I think always set him apart in the industry was his Southern hospitality and warm hospitality. And while he's an amazing chef, he would always come out and make sure the table was taken care of. Everybody had everything they wanted, and that was really drilled into us even as children. So I worked summers, and he created music festivals here in Nashville later on. And I would always work those in the summers, felt very privileged to get to be a part of the early Nashville downtown revitalization of the 90s. And from that, I went to college, funny enough, for microbiology, very different than what I ended up doing.
Yeah, so you probably have a lot of standards on food safety, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, I really got to use my degree during the pandemic. So, because I actually had done a paper on coronavirus, funny enough. So, but when I graduated, I started looking in labs, and I had the hospitality bug. Something about being in a room full of people and creative people is infectious, and to use a microbiology term, infectious. But I didn't want to be isolated in my work life. I didn't want to be in a lab alone. I wanted to be in a dining room. So pretty much right after college, I came back to the family business and have been working with it ever since. I ran the movie division for about 5 years, primarily in New York City. And then was the GM of a few restaurants that we opened here, Southern Steak and Oyster. I was one of the opening GMs. And since I've grown to now be the COO, and my dad is hopefully going to be able to retire soon. We're working hard to make sure he can, and my sister and I are taking over the company.
Wow, that's exciting. Interesting path that you went on. Well, you mentioned that you got that bug of hospitality. I think it's an interesting way that you described being in a space with creative people. What do you mean by that?
Oh goodness. I mean, especially in a city like Nashville or my time in New York, um, so many people that have a day job and a dream end up drawn to hospitality. So in any of the restaurants here in Nashville, you're going to be surrounded with incredible songwriters, musicians, chefs in the restaurant itself. And um, as more of a black and white math science person, it's just so impressive and just frankly cool to be surrounded by all these incredible creative talents all the time.
Hmm.
At Acme, we have live music. That's one of our properties is Acme Feed and Seed. And we have 7 days of live music on the stage. And every time I'm in there for a meeting or just to check on the team, I have to pinch myself at the music we're getting to see on the stage on a random Tuesday night. So, you don't get that in every industry. So it makes hospitality fun and it makes up for all the challenges in the industry.
Yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of our focus is around sociability, and I think for me, hospitality is creating safe and vibrant places for people to socialize, and that music is the heartbeat of sociability. It's what draws people together. So it's interesting the way you frame that, not only for the patrons of your establishment, but also the team that you work with, and that they share this kind of passion that you have to be surrounded with creative people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So, so you mentioned that there was a revitalization in Nashville that began in the 90s, and you're proud to be a part of that revitalization. But how has the rapid growth in the city really impacted just the nature of the hospitality industry and the types of businesses that open and the way in which they're structured? I know that you have been an award-winning independent restaurant for many years. But, how does the independent sector work within this revitalization, and has there been more challenges for the independent sector?
Oh, huge challenges. And you know, I think for a while the term new Nashville, I think 15 years ago was really trending and there was a lot of fear around the development and the growth of the city. I was excited as someone that grew up here because growing up here, you didn't have great restaurants to eat at all the time necessarily, or they were few and far between. We didn't have a ton of music venues here either. So it, I think growth was exciting. And what we all need to participate together is making sure that going forward, it's done wisely and carefully. And there's probably a correction that needs to take place because for a minute it was unbridled growth with no rules. And it does feel like maybe some of the intentionality has been lost with the growth of the city. And so um, it's been great, but there's been new challenges, especially the past 3, 4 years that have
Hmm.
definitely popped up for independence. Private
Hmm.
equity has moved in. When you're seeing the great headlines and all the money that's to be made in this city, you naturally attract bigger industry, bigger private equity people. And while it's exciting and I think there's room for everyone, you don't want it at the expense of your mom and pa's. I mean, my dad and my family in general have spent 45 years. This is the 40th anniversary of Tomcats. We've spent all that time investing in Nashville, believing in Nashville, and we want to be here till the end. We don't want to get pushed out. So it's a big challenge. I mean, we just got our new property tax assessment at Acme Feed and Seed. We're renters, so we're leaseholders. We have a triple net lease, and our property tax went overnight from 2024 to 2025 from $120,000 a year to $600,000 a year. And so for a small family owned business, we have 3 restaurants. Uh, it's punitive. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. You
there's
have to sell a lot of beer to make up $400,000.
100. Yeah, exactly. There's honestly no way. And,
Yeah,
maybe there's a chain out there or someone with bigger buying power that could come in and make it work, but how sad, you know what I mean? And we're not the only ones being faced with the property tax hike or the growing pains of increased rent. So as a person that's born and raised here, I really don't want to see my favorites go away and um the people that truly love the community. I want those places to still exist.
yeah. Well, I did interview Erica Nichols from the Bluebird Cafe, and when she spoke, she said that's a similar challenge because they're in a strip mall that could ultimately become a high-rise condo. And the question is, how do you preserve that kind of local, historic, independent third place, that really is
Right.
built around community connections and, rather than just the selling of the food and the drink and the music, it's really the creation of the third place where it really bonds a community together. And I think that's really an important part of hospitality. And women, I think, have increasingly been playing a big role in the hospitality industry. You as a good example of that. And so why is it important to create more opportunities for women in management and ownership within the hospitality industry, and not to diminish the role that men play, but is there certain qualities or attributes that women bring to hospitality that really add a little bit more sparkle?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at who women dine out at restaurants, and I would say even increasingly more with uh social media and everything. Women are highly involved in the decision making of where you're going to eat out, or where you're going to go enjoy a show if you're in the venue space. And so there needs to be representation there, because my perspective is going to be very different than my father's or my brother's, and offering that perspective is great for our customers and guests as well. So
Hmm.
I think diversity and perspective from hospitality owners is important, so that we're really, I mean, at the end of the day, it also is a business decision, right? We've got a market that consists of both females and males. Why would we not want to capture that whole market? And
Hmm.
having the female perspective in leadership roles is very important.
Yeah. Well, some of our
Running a
work.
team, it's important to have different perspectives, because your team is going to consist of different ages, sexes, races, and you really need to have leadership that can understand where everyone's coming from, so you can really work as a team.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. No, we've done focus groups for women in the number of cities that we've worked in, and it clearly identifies a range of issues that women seek. Top of the list is clean, equipped restrooms. That always makes the top of the list. But seating and menus and staff that's recognizable, and particularly in nightlife venues where you have concerns about safety and security. These are all factors that most men don't necessarily take into consideration, but clearly that women do, and having a woman in a management position can be there. Now, with your success and the other success of women in the industry in Nashville, because I've met many of them already, um, there must be some challenges too in terms of just trying to navigate through this world.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I first started managing at Southern, which, is a steak restaurant, so we get a lot of business dinners. And I noticed that if I approached a table to ask how their dining experience was, a lot of times I would be asked, well, why is the hostess coming to our table? Not being identified as the GM. And I learned pretty quickly, as long as I wore a blazer, they would they would think then maybe I was the manager. But so the biases still exist, that, we have we have two female GMs, and then a female chef de cuisine, and they experience that from time to time too. Like, oh, can we talk to the manager and not the hostess? And it, at the end of the day, it makes us chuckle, but it really is, a problem that I think we're getting better at as there's more visibility of females in leadership roles. And I think some of that is just they don't expect it because of the history of lack of females in leadership roles in hospitality. But I am starting to see that to shift, as you're seeing it more and more female owners in the restaurant industry and hospitality industry.
Yeah, so Nashville is obviously known for its music. And, this is just a little joke, but one of the things that they told me I needed to experience when I was in Nashville is a fried bologna sandwich, So I don't know if that defines the cuisine of Nashville, but how do you see the food scene evolving in Nashville?
Oh, that's the most exciting part about being here now, is our food scene has become incredible. it's competitive on a national or international stage. And I think what makes it unique is what you just said. I mean, you can go to Roberts and get a bologna sandwich at midnight, and it'll be the best bologna sandwich you've ever had in your life. But then you've also got five-star dining experiences like Bastion is one of my favorites, or Catbird Seat. You can have the more Michelin star experience, or you can have a fried bologna sandwich. And what's really sets us apart as a city, I think, is we don't have the pretense with our dining scene that some other places have. So while you might have that five-star dining experience, you can do it while you're wearing your Wrangler jeans and a relaxed t-shirt, because Nashville's always kind of been known to take the pretense out of it. And that's what I love and I think makes us unique.
Yeah, yeah. Now,
When folks call the Southern asking what our dress code is, I laugh because we don't have a dress code.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can get a nice steak but you can come as you are.
In blue jeans, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
So your blue jeans and your cowboy hat, it's fine. Yeah. So as you see the evolution of the industry and the city, and even looking at this particular tax initiative, there's a need to have some organized representation. And I know you have Lisa's with although she's moving on in April, but you have the Greater Nashville Hospitality Restaurant Association. But you know, Nashville, and one of the reasons we're bringing our summit here to Nashville is there's a growing network of cities that have these dedicated offices with staff that really are the liaison among the government and the industry and the community through an office of nightlife and a nighttime economy office. And there's probably about almost 20 cities now in North America, but there's probably over 100 throughout the world that have these kind of dedicated offices. And that's how I came into contact with you, was through my connection with Kelly Kaplan and Benton. How have you seen that particular function in the city helping people within the industry?
Oh God. I mean, as a small independent family owned restaurant and venue group, yes, we're from here and we have certain connections, but we're not always the biggest guy at the table, so our voices aren't always heard. And it's really important for us to have these, the Greater Nashville Hospitality Association or the mayor of nightlife, to get the attention of the decision makers when we're in need. So, a lot of these bigger publicly traded groups might have a lobbyist on hand to go try to get the best legislation for them, but we don't have that. We're small. So Benton has helped us on safety initiatives that I don't know if we would have had a big enough voice to get. He's been a great liaison on safety initiatives. um, we're the front lines, right, of tourism, so we're seeing the trends before even the CDC is seeing them sometimes. And having that liaison to say, hey, we're noticing this trend, we might need help here, this might be an exciting thing to lean into, or this might be a challenge upcoming, and having our voices heard has been invaluable. But the legislative piece is the biggest part.
Hmm.
Benton's helped with a lot of that, and so is Kelly and Lisa. I think our industry, is really facing struggles right now with immigration policy. And Lisa's been a big help getting us a seat at the table to discuss not only the human challenges there, but also the economic challenges of if you want a vibrant hospitality industry, you have to have a labor force, and our immigrant labor force is a huge part of that. So again, having that liaison that can get us a seat at the table has been
Hmm.
invaluable.
Well, your mayor had a great editorial in the New York Times early on in this immigration issue. And obviously, he sees the value and benefit of having a diverse workforce and
Right.
also a workforce that, brings culture and new ways of looking at food and dining and entertainment. I mean, like you said, you need men and women, but you also need people from different ethnic backgrounds. And clearly, to me, the fusion of food is an example of the fusion of the cultures that come into the country. And that's what makes the hospitality industry in the U.S. so unique is because we bring that diversity of food ingredients. I mean,
Flavors.
salsa has replaced ketchup as a condiment. So we really see that as an important element of it. So from washing trays in the back of a catering truck to now being, a prominent independent business owner, how do you forecast the next 5 years?
Ooh, I do feel like we're at an inflection point in the city because we just had explosive growth the past 5 years. I think we've all been faced with a reality check of, oh no, maybe it's time to take a beat this year. So I'm really excited. I think we're all seeing the rebirth of the neighborhood restaurant. And I say that as someone who has downtown locations. So, but me and my sister are really excited, about the rebirth of the neighborhood concept, and everything we are looking for in the future is getting back into the communities that we live in. So we just opened Sapphire Restaurant about a year ago, which is in Franklin, and it was a reopening because it was our family's first restaurant that had closed in 2017, and that was mine and my sister's first real project together, since my dad has retired, and we want more of that. We're excited to get back into the neighborhoods and the communities, but Southern and Acme are still anchors in the downtown neighborhood, and I think that's where probably the most challenges lie, is where the explosive growth was and the affordability issues. How we navigate that in the next 5 years is really gonna uh, be formative in what the city looks like. And there's a lot of decisions to be made right now on what we want that to look like
Hmm. Yeah,
in
so
both
it's
restaurant and music. I mean, if musicians can't afford to live here or work here because of parking, how do we continue to be Music City? So I think there's a lot of affordability questions with the growth. And then also just system. I mean, parking, it's such a boring tactical thing to talk about, but parking has probably been our number one growing pain as the city
Mhm.
has grown. And it's like making a decision on how we accommodate that. Is it public transit? Is it better parking? Is it, you know, city ran parking so we can keep rates affordable? But there's a lot of systemic questions that need to be answered quickly if we're going to be successful the next 5 years.
Wow, that's a great summary. I hope other people will listen to your points of view because it seems like you've captured like a checklist of priorities for the next 5 years. And I like the way that you're talking about neighborhood growth because that's where growth is possible. And hospitality tends to drive new development in neighborhoods and bring vitality and also bring opportunities not only for the hospitality sector, but for the retail sector and residents who want to live in a place where they could walk out their door and experience the local community and the third places that are being created. And you obviously are a leader in that. And obviously, you and your sister and the rest of your family deserve a lot of credit for taking the risk, which is often challenging, to open up a new business. So I appreciate your time, and this has been a great interview, and I look forward to meeting you in person.
Same. Thank you so much, Jim.
Okay.
That was so
Thank you
nice.
very much.